president of the Cincinnati branch of the NAACP, and I want to thank you all for coming out to your village candidate forum. Tonight, we'll be doing a series of questions. The important part is these candidates have chosen to come here and be in front of you and talk to you about what matters as it relates to their policy, as it relates to their vision for your village. We ask at this time, if you need to make communications with your neighbors, please do so outside the gymnasium, because other people are trying to hear what these candidates have to say. There's a few ground rules that we ask the candidates respectfully to do, and we ask our audiences respectfully to do. Each one of the candidates will be given the answer based upon their thought process. You may or may not like it. Please hold that may or may not like it internally and make that decision in November, not here today, because other people are trying to hear what else is being said. So we're going to ask you respectfully to do that tonight. For the candidates, you will have, thanks for doing that with the phone. Please turn your phone to silent or off. That is a reminder of that. Please turn it to silent or off. I know some of you have to be able to be connected with somebody, so if you just need, turn it to silent so it doesn't disrupt while we're doing it. Each one of the candidates will have 90 seconds in which to answer each question. In the course of that 90 seconds, at 30 seconds remaining, we will give a notification. At the conclusion of that last 30 seconds, we will say time. You'll get a sign from the timekeeper that says time up. Our moderator will say thank you. If you do not conclude in that time, our moderator will say thank you again, one more time. On the third time, we will cut your mic. We don't want to cut anybody's mic. If there's continual where you're not respectful of your fellow council people by cutting off your message at the time that's been allocated to you, we will respectfully ask you to miss your next turn. After missing your next turn, we will try you again. If you still do not adhere to the messages, I need everybody in agreement that you're willing to get up and leave. Okay, thank you, because what we want to do is make sure we inform the community of what our policies and procedures are and what our vision is. So, any questions on the 90 seconds? All right, so we're good with that. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to our moderators. We'll have two moderators tonight, and Gwen McFarland, which many of you may know from our community. She's been involved in the community for quite some time in this county, so she's very familiar with what things are going on in this community. And then we have Jeremy Jamar, who is our chair of our voter empowerment with the NAACP, also is executive at the Board of Elections. So, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you, David. We're going to start with opening statements from the candidates. And I ask that all of our incumbents talk about, give a grade of your term so far and why would you give yourself that grade. And for our non-incumbents, introduce yourself and talk about why you have chosen to run for council. And we'll start with you, Ms. Brown. 1 minute for introduction and grade yourself on your term.
Well, my grade is an A, but I haven't had a term. My name is Sarita Brown. Many of you know me. Some of you may not. I am a proud resident of Lincoln Heights. I have 6 children, 5 that I gave birth to, 1 that God gave me, and 11 grandchildren. I guess the question was why did I choose to run? For a number of reasons, but mostly because a number of my family, and I don't mean blood, but my family in Lincoln Heights have asked me to run many years, and I fought it for reasons that I won't speak on. However, God has moved me to do this and to do the best that I can. So I'm running not for Lincoln Heights Council, but I'm running for Lincoln Heights and my family, my residents, my hood. I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Next, go ahead.
My name is Nona R. Calhoun Mumia, and I've been on the council since February 12th, 2024. The reason that I'm running is to complete my unexpired term. The term would end in December 31st, 2027. When I first was asked to apply for the vacant seat, the seat was vacant because nobody ran for council this seat for 2023. And I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I consulted with my family after Dolores Lindsay had told me that the seat was vacant and she thought I'd be a good candidate. So I applied, and I was voted in by council. And since I've been there for 20 months, I've been the chair of the Finance Committee. I've been the co-chair of Law and Safety Committee. I've worked with the law enforcement. I've worked with the EMS. I've worked also on the Economic and Development Committee, and I have worked with the We Thrive, trying to make sure that our community is safe, make sure that our community is healthy, and
Thank you.
make sure that the community's needs are met.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels.
Thank you. My name is Councilman Durance Daniels. So I've been on council now for 8 years, and why I'm running for council once again is a question that you ask. And to be honest with you, I had some, curiosity if I was going to do it or not. But the reason why is I got back to the original point of when we started this campaign and we started the Heights movement. It was really to get the residents involved and get the residents engaged once again back and being involved in Lincoln Heights. You got to think this was 2017. Trump was just back in office. We were working at Princeton, and all of our kids who we coached, when we come back into Lincoln Heights, they seemed like they had nothing to do if you were over the age of 15. Obviously, St. Monica's take care of our babies, but anybody over, we felt like there was a gap there. So why I'm running and the things that I've done, that's a quick 30 seconds, a minute and a half, but that's cool. That's all good. But why I'm running and things that we've done. So we've got residents empowered. We've shut down the gun range. We've created community farms. We've taken blighted properties and turned them into community spaces. Youth employment, we've raised that in the community of Lincoln Heights, and now we're talking about the future and the vision of Lincoln Heights. Improving our housing stock, improving our job opportunities, and working with our partners, our corporate partners in the village of Lincoln Heights that continues to build us through. Now, I thought I had 30 seconds, but I'll keep going until she stops me, and I'll talk about some of those partnerships and how they work. When you have an individual and a young person who doesn't even understand on what they can do on the dreams that they have, working with their partners and those will get it done. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Daniels.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm honored to sit here today before you as a candidate for the Council of Lincoln Heights. I was born with a heart to serve, raised to believe, and when you see a need in the community, you fix it right then and there. That is why I'm running, because I believe in us, in our families, our neighborhood, in the future. Lincoln Heights is a rich history, but we are a community built on strength and pride. We all know that pride does not do it. It's not just enough. We deserve leadership that listen, act, and deliver, not just promise, but progress. I'm running on a platform of accountability, opportunity, and unity. Accountability is you deserve to know where our tax dollars are going and how they're improving your daily life. Opportunity means that we are investing in our youth, supporting small business, and creating real economic development, not just outside investment that piles on us, but local growth that lifts us up. Unity. It's the foundation. We may not look alike, we may not worship the same, we may not walk the same path, but we do share a zip code, a school, a future, and together we are strong.
Thanks, Ms. Easton. Good evening. My name is Tanya Key. I am running to be reelected to Lincoln Heights Village Council. I do apologize for my tardiness. I had 6 conflicting events on my calendar. 2 involved the high school where I work and am employed. 2 involved the community, which one I wasn't able to go to. I wish I could have, but it just so happened to be that way. And so I believe I heard the question asking for a grade. I would give myself a B+. There's always room for improvement. The platform that I run on is trusted leadership, strong future, putting Lincoln Heights first, honoring our past, building for our future, responsible, reliable, ready to serve, leadership again that you can trust, a future that you can believe in. For Lincoln Heights, it's about integrity, progress, and justice.
Thank you, Ms. Key.
Good evening, residents. My name is Laverne Mitchell, and I'm running for re-election to Lincoln Heights Village Council. I have been involved in the village government for over 35 years, and at this time I would rate myself a B+ because I have not helped to accomplish all the goals that we need to do, such as improving our streets, making sure that the Hamilton County Sheriff is doing community policing the way we want it. Those are some things that I think we need to do. And I'm running because I want to continue to use my knowledge and my skill sets to advance the community. My skill set, I am able to help whatever council is seated to go forward, because progress is all about being diligent, being resilient, and being courageous. And that's what our forefathers did. So I think that I deserve to be put back, because if I look at all the other accomplishments I've had in the past years, I would give myself an A.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Good afternoon. My name is Norby Tate. I'm new to this position. I currently serve on the Planning Commission and the Recreation Commission. I came here in 2021. At that time, I went down to the council meetings and I saw what was going on. I talked to the mayor and asked her if I could do more, and she gave me those petitions to sign up for those committees. I did. On those committees, I currently give myself maybe a B+. And I want to run for Lincoln Heights because I want to make it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Okay, I get to ask the next question, and it's going to be around business development and economic growth. So, first I'd like to ask each one of you, including the non-incumbents, to respond to this. How have you protected Lincoln Heights from annexation or being overshadowed by neighboring towns? We will start first with Ms. Baker.
Ms. Brown, me?
Ms. Brown, I'm sorry.
I'm not really sure how to answer that question because I've never sat in a government place, but me as a resident, I have done a lot with building relationships with outside and surrounding communities. They help us, we help them with not just the farming, but growing our children, our families, our community. And I think that sitting on this council will allow me to be able to allow our voices from Lincoln Heights to be heard from a different platform, because I know in the places, in the rooms that I go in, I am heard and I'm seen. And a lot of people tell me that this is my calling. So I think that where I can't answer the question directly for you because I haven't been there per se, I can say that I'm willing to learn and get there and be the biggest voice that Lincoln Heights has ever had.
Mrs. Brown, I thank you for that, because I was going to ask you how will you as well, but you've also sort of given us an outline of how you would. Thank you. For the non-incumbents, it will be the same question, but how will you? Okay, and if you need me to repeat the question, I'm very comfortable with that. Okay, Ms. Calhoun, Yumi? Yes, ma'am. Could you respond to that question, please?
Okay, can you repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. You're a non-incumbent?
I'm an
Incumbent. How have you protected Lincoln Heights from annexation or being overshadowed by neighboring towns?
Okay. Well, the first thing is that as chair of the Finance Committee, understanding that one of the things that could make Lincoln Heights be annexed by the Hamilton County or Evendale or Woodlawn is our ability to pay our bills. And the financial risk that we would be in if we don't get our tax levies passed. So I worked with the village manager to make sure, and the solicitor to make sure that we had a tax levy on the budget and that we can pay our bills, that we can buy the services that our community needs, and also have funds for the future.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Mr. Daniels, do you need me to read that question again?
Sure.
How have you protected Lincoln Heights from annexation
Yeah.
or being overshadowed by neighboring towns?
Yeah, so when we first started, when we were going door to door, one of the biggest things that we thought that we can do to make sure that Lincoln Heights' narrative change was one of the biggest things, was going after from a gun range perspective. Because as you talk about neighboring communities, Evendale is our neighboring community that over generations, over 75 plus years, has been overshadowing us with evil noise. So once again, the residents went door to door. The residents also made their own videos to make sure that they was the voice to which why their community needed to change and where it would not be annexed. So as I'm stating on that front, from how we protected it and how we did things of that nature. You have certain council members who feel like working with our other communities in a situation where they are the ones taking advantage of us, where they will utilize our situation so that they can get grant dollars. That's not how we've done it, that's not what we do. We've also changed the narrative on making sure that the residents are tell their story from a farming situation, where the residents will be able to tell their story of how they're creating jobs in the community. So how you talk about the annexation and be able to protect your community is allow individuals to say what's really taking place. Because what's going on for a long time is that the narrative of Lincoln Heights has been told by outsiders. So the number one thing that we wanted to do was invest in our own residents, invest in our own community, invest in our own community stock. So when you're talking about protecting and you're talking about overshadowing, over the last 10 years, when you really talk about the narrative of this community, it's really been about them and empowering them and investing in them. Now, when you want to talk about the housing piece, there's some great things that we can do. Lease-to-own opportunities, community land trust, but all those things get back to, once again, a collective of the community where the residents feel empowered enough and the voice enough to come back and speak in their own government.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Thank you very much. Ms. Hingston, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
So how I would empower the community? First, you have to get the community engaged. So that means you go from door to door to get the community engaged in our commissions. We have a lot of commissions. You have to listen to the community. You have to go outside and not just choose one neighborhood, but the surrounding neighborhoods, not to look like the neighborhoods, but to see why they're going up and we at a standstill, to see how do they process. Is there any grants we're missing that we can learn from them to build us up? That's how we do different things in the neighborhood, learn about grants, get our streets fixed. We know we can't do it all at one time because we have to have matching funds. So we need to figure out what is it that we need to do. If we need to look at our budget and look at it very closely and then hire a personal grant writer so we can get revenue to build up our village. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hingston. Ms. Keys.
Thank you. So one thing we have to consider is the assets that we have in our community, and land is a major asset that we have in our community. And one thing that I was able to to do, I was fortunate to do, was lead the process of our land use study, that we did not have a current land use study. The one that we had on file was, I don't remember the exact year, but leading that study and taking the time to listen to what the residents have already said, that they have been saying for years. Every time we have forums, the residents have been speaking, they have been talking the same language. And so we take a look at what they had already presented us. We take a look at what we have as far as assets are concerned. And we have to look and see, where are our boundaries, where are our borders, where do we have land that we can optimize, and how we can optimize that land. And the land use study gave us a really good look at the tapestry of our village. It gave us a look at the borders of our village. It also gave us a look into what we would need to do to be able to develop our village properly so that we can maintain our status and potentially grow our status. And so how I was able to help keep from annexation when I had communities that was coming to me asking me to do certain things or lean a certain way, I told them no. I simply told them no. That is not what our community wants. That's not what we need. That is not the future for our community.
Thank you, Ms. Key. Ms. Mitchell, do you need me to repeat the question again?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think one of the first things that I would do is use the meeting of Respect My Block, so that the community can be engaged and understand the threat of annexation. We need to increase our population, making sure that we do complete the census so that we know how many people we actually have here. We need to build our tax base through our economic development in the community with whatever land we have available for business development. We also need to encourage and work with our planning commission to make sure that they're looking at the zoning that we have. I think that is critical to anything that we would do.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Tate, do you need me to
No, ma'am.
repeat the question? Thank
No.
you, sir.
I'll try to answer best as I can. Being new to here to Lincoln Heights, if elected, I would work with my fellow commissioners and get input from them, and also as well get input from the citizens to do the best I can for Lincoln Heights.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, this next set of questions will be around housing and affordability. Question here, infrastructure including streets, utilities, and sidewalks influences housing viability. Which infrastructure investments will you or have you made in tandem with housing improvements, and how have you coordinated them? I'll repeat the question one more time. Infrastructure influences housing and viability. Which infrastructure investments have you or will you make in tandem with housing improvements, and how will you coordinate them? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
I haven't. However, I do have many ideals and grants that I've looked up. The ideals that I have is giving back to the community, believing in the community, and employing our community to rehab our dilapidated housing, with some people being able to live in them rent-free for a year after the restoration team begins to build. That will help with our housing crisis. I think that if we learn or allow our residents to be a part of the rebuild of Lincoln Heights, then we build the respect, rebuild the love. Lincoln Heights don't have churches on every corner because people didn't believe in God, because people didn't believe in each other. They believed in each other and they believed in God, and that's how Lincoln Heights was built, and that's what we need to get back to. So with that being said, to invest in our community, our residents, our masons, our construction workers, to rebuild Lincoln Heights from the ground up with their hands so that we can begin to love Lincoln Heights and respect Lincoln Heights again and understand what our founders wanted. And that was for us to have a safe haven. That was for us to rebuild anything that was torn down. That was for us to rebuild each other when we were torn down. That's why there's a church on every corner, because we did believe in the rebuild, renew, and restore of each other, our lands, and that's what we have to do. So my plan is to continue to grow in history, read my history, learn my history, not to just relive it, but to do it.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Allen.
I'm glad you asked the question. There are two institutions that provide the basic needs for our community that need government support. And that's the Valley Homes Community Urban Rehabilitation Development Corporation and the Lincoln Heights Health Connection. Those are two institutions that have long history in Lincoln Heights and have done a very good job at providing the basic service of affordable housing and primary health care. And what I plan to do in the next 2 years is to make sure that I advocate for better housing and to pass legislation and develop policies to guarantee that these services remain in Lincoln Heights.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels.
Thank you. So you started with infrastructure, and things that I've already done is created partnerships that allowed our streets to be done. I know everybody sees the great new streets that we've done that's happened through our partnership with Metro. So we had some great friends down there that passed issue 7, I believe, a few years ago, that allowed Hamilton County to do some certain things that we're now eligible for all these grants for our streets to be done. So that's some things that I've done and built those partnerships to have that get done. So when we talk about housing development, our housing stock, once again, utilizing those same type of partners again to work how we move. We have plenty of residents in here that can do welding work, plenty of residents that can do electrician work, plenty of residents that can do sidewalk work, concrete work. So investing in them, getting them certified and trained is a work that we're already doing, but amplifying that on a wider scale and using obviously our local government to support that will be vital in moving that forward. Last, as we said before, we were talking about lease-to-own homes or community land trusts. Councilwoman Key, also Councilwoman Kathy Goodwin-Williams as well, too, have done a phenomenal job on our land use plan. We have a lot of stock in the village of Lincoln Heights, and we have the ability to control our own housing prices, our own land, when you talk about a community land trust. So very similar to the Valley Home structure, where everybody owned their own building, but the land always stayed in the community. We could do that same thing here, where all the houses that we own, we can build with our residents. The residents can own it, but the community land stays intact. That's what helps our annexation. That's what protects us from other communities, because we allow our best residents to do the work.
Thank you. Ms. Hanson.
So as you all know, I was able to sit on council as they worked through their issues for 7 months. And during that time that I sat on council, I was able to vote for the street levy because they had a grant. And because they didn't have enough people down there involved, they would have lost the grant had I not voted. So that's one of the things that I have done as far as the street levy. When I get on, notice what I said, when I get on, I am going to work with agencies because we have a lot of seniors who need assistance and help on their house. So there are organizations out there that would help them so they don't get code enforcement to be able to get their house up to code. That's one thing that I want to work on. Also, that we need to make sure when we have things coming in here based on the things that I've been down there, that we don't allow our residents to be put in a predicament where they house go up to a number where they can't afford it and they lose their housing. So my job is to make them have access to affordable housing, stuff that works for them so they don't have the fear of being displaced in the village of Lincoln Heights based on people allowing other things to come into Lincoln Heights.
Thank you. Ms. Key.
Thank you. So the current homeowners of the village of Lincoln Heights have been carrying the burden of tax for our community for far too long. And It is so for different reasons, and I don't have time to go into all of them right now. But looking at the housing tapestry, and once again, the assets that we have, streets and sidewalks, I'm appreciative because those things are being done. But there is a matter in which we can work cooperatively with other agencies to provide funding. Now, all the time we were able to have funding up front. And I have to credit a lot of my learning from former village manager Joyce Powdrill, because she helped open our eyes to what was possible in our community, what partnerships could be possible in our community, not overlooking the individuals who were there in the past who had done it. She just showed us a whole different way in which we can leverage funds to be able to take care of infrastructure needs. And so the infrastructure needs that I am concerned about by being a homeowner in the village of Lincoln Heights is not only our streets, but what is under our streets. My house flooded several times during rainwater. So there's a lot of areas that we can look at. And once again, I have to go back to that land use study because it looked at a lot of those things as well. So when we look at tangled titles, when we look at transferring wealth, when we look at having that opportunity to do so, we want to make sure that we take care of those infrastructure needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. So when we talk about infrastructure, the first thing we usually think about are streets. And we are fortunate to be in partnership with SORTA and Metro to get our major streets done. Currently, we are working on Simmons, which has not been done almost since the village started. And so the street infrastructure is pretty much on the way. We still have additional streets to come. When we talk about housing, so we have HERC, who is building affordable homes throughout the village. And so that's a partnership with the Port Authority. Recently, the Port Authority and the Land Reutilization Program offered citizens an opportunity to get renovations done to their home up to $15,000 if they were eligible. And I made it a point to go out, put that information out there, and we have about 16 families that took advantage of that program. We currently have the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Area, in which we are offering our properties. We took off the moratorium. We're offering our properties to those individuals who are willing to build $200,000 plus homes with a tax abatement. So we are on point for our infrastructure investments.
Thank you. Mr. Tate.
Being new to this process as an outsider, not being on the council, I could just say inform the community about programs, grants, CRAs that they can use to benefit them, to help them keep their homes or remodel their homes.
Thank you, Mr. Tate.
Okay. I get the opportunity to ask the next set of questions. And I'm going to start with Ms. Brown, and then we'll just continue the normal process. It's alphabetically, so we're staying, with the way we should. This is regarding city council relations, governance, and trust. So some residents say past decisions were made without sufficient community input or notice. What procedural reforms would you implement if you are not an incumbent? And if you are, will you commit to ensure more inclusive public hearings, advance notice, and resident participation?
Where do I start? Well, the first thing I think that I would do, because I am a resident and there's a lot of things that our council does or have in our community that we are not aware of. So I remember when I was growing up, there was an all call. That all call kept you informed. I know a lot of people don't have landlines, but just figuring out a way that we can do that all call again, communicating through, I guess, the Facebook page, just figuring out the way that our community communicates and reaching out and meeting them there. I think that the community participation would grow if the community was heard. It's really hard to go to a council meeting and ask the question, and your response is you will know when it's posted. So just transparency and being here for the community. I'm not running for me. It's not about me. When I walk into that building, I will be there for the Lincoln Heights residents, not about me. So I know that the participation will grow if you can be heard and seen.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Calhoun.
One of the things that I've done is that I've worked with Councilwoman Mitchell in starting the Respect My Block town halls, community communication. The purpose of those, we have them every Tuesday, first Tuesday. And what we try to do is to inform the community about what's going on. And just as Ms. Brown says, one of our problems has been that our robocalls system is not working. So we've been working to get that reestablished so that more people would know. We started handing out flyers, taking those to the various communities to let them, the various buildings, community buildings like Centennial and the Waycliffs, where the residents are. And so we tried to make sure that they know that the Respect My Blocks are, and try to make sure that they are every first Tuesday. The other things that we do, as far as what I've done, as far as being, is we've had a board and commission workshop, and we've invited people to come to that workshop and learn what it means to be on the various boards and commissions. And that was successful because we now have Mr. Tate, who's been very active on the Planning Commission and the Recreation Commission and coming to the community meetings.
You mind repeating the question just one more time, just make sure I'm hearing it correctly?
Yes. Some residents say past decisions were made without sufficient community input or notice. So what procedural reforms have you implemented since you've been in your position, or for those who haven't been in your position, or will you commit to ensure more inclusive public hearings, advance notice, and resident participation?
Well, the fact that the culture of the council for us to pass emergency, we have an emergency clause, is where the residents don't have to hear things on 3 hearings. You know, that's one of our policy pieces that I've always had a question about. You know, we ran, once again, to engage the residents in the process. I don't know why we would be a part of council if we don't want to hear from you all and do the things that you all say. Our job is to hear the problems that you have and try to figure out if we can't empower you, we gonna find some power to fix it. And that's the job that we have. So when you talk about to make sure that our voice villages are heard and transparent meetings, public meetings, and a more public meeting, I love my elders, and elders have always told me, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're gonna get the same result, or there's another word they have if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, but I know nobody in Lincoln Heights is that. So why don't we do something different? Why don't we implement a text message program where we actually go through and sketch QR codes and allow everybody to know what's going on? Because I text, probably everybody in here got a text message from me today. Why don't we have our Facebook group that's more inclusive, more interactive, and create a street team that hires these individuals under the age of 30 to go door to door and talk with our residents and pass out flyers. It should be our residents doing the work and creating the communication processes, and they're there. This is 2025, and the fact that we cannot communicate better is sad. We need to digitize our communication in a better way.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Hickson.
So some things that I would do. I would always have a meeting, and they talk about how the residents don't come to the meetings. We have to do better when they come to the meetings. If you ask the question, it needs to be answered. Just like when they came in the Nazis, there was a lot of stuff going on. I specifically had everyone write their name and number down. I personally called them back. It doesn't matter how long it takes. We have to do more than that second and fourth Monday in order to communicate with our residents. There was a time that we hired youth to work in the village during the summer. We need to bring that back so they can help do some of the leg work and get out. We need to go from door to door. We need to do letters, and don't worry about the cost, because we need to work on the budget so that can be a part put in the budget when we put out newsletters. And don't just skip certain addresses. We need to let everybody know and everybody be involved, because that is the only way the community will grow, if we have a working community that stands together, works together, and stay together.
Thanks, Ms. Hickson. Ms. Key.
Thank you. One of the initiatives that I had the privilege of working on was the community Wi-Fi project. And one of the elements that we continued to talk about was the fact that just about everybody in the village at least had a cell phone. And so one of the pieces that we wanted to look at is how to create a landing page so that we can push notifications out to residents through cell phone, because not only did our youth have cell phones, our adults were becoming more using cell phones as well, especially after COVID. So that's one of the initiatives that I still want to have on the table, work through, because it gives us right now in the home communication directly to the residents. One of the issues that I've always had is our sunshine laws and the fact that we'll have special meetings, whether it's a 12-hour notice, 24-hour notice, 48-hour notice, depends on the person and depends on the day, which one they would allow. And so that was always a concern of mine. And so one of the things that I want to do is clean up our laws so that we're all operating off of the same playbook, so that when we have opportunities to submit information out, we get it out to the people in advance so that they can be knowledgeable on what we're talking about in council. And just out of curiosity, we have 5 conspicuous places that notifications are supposed to be posted for people, and they are the Healthcare Connection, Village Hall, Friendship Plaza, Centennial Apartments, and Oak Park. I'm just curious to our residents, how many of you have seen that notification posted outside of Village Hall?
Thanks, Ms. Key. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. Well, I think one of the things we have to do is, number one, when we get a piece of legislation, we need to have the first reading and refer it to a committee. And then we need to have the residents come to the committee meetings, because that's where they are able to speak, ask questions, and have more time. We can't do that at the council meetings. The other thing, I agree with Ms. Key, we do have suspension of the reading, so we don't have to hear it all in, take 3 readings. So we do the suspension. We need to reduce that, because we need to actually give the residents an opportunity to hear what we're doing. Hopefully, because residents are not coming to the meetings, that you are looking at us on ICRC-TV.com. And you can go back as far as probably 5 years. So I think that's important. One of the other things that we need to do, it was talked about our auto call. We do need to find a way, number one, to get it repaired, to get a new firm, which is our manager is working on, but we also need to find a way to get numbers. We have tried that before, to try to have residents come in, give us your phone number, whether it's landline or cell, because that's one way that we can get contact information to you. The other thing is to just please come to the committee meetings and apply for the boards and commissions.
Thanks, Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Tate.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Was it your question? Okay. Here I go. Ready? Some residents say past decisions were made without sufficient community input or notice. What procedural reforms would you commit to? And because you haven't had an opportunity to serve, so I'm saying, would you commit to ensure more inclusive public hearings, advance notices, and resident participation?
So I can only speak for myself, because when I came here in 2021, There was a Facebook post on the Lincoln Heights page that posted the meetings for each Monday night. So I took it upon myself to look for those posts. I went down to the meetings. I met the mayor. I met the council members that was there, and I continually look for those posts. And if I didn't see those posts, I went down to the village municipal building to look on the sign outside. So I think it's up on the individual themselves. If they want to attend the meeting, they can find out when they are, or they can go down to the municipal building and look on the sign. And they post when they're canceled also. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tate.
Am I speaking loud enough?
Yes,
Okay.
I mean, does everybody hear the responses? Okay, thank you.
All right, this next question is regarding public safety. How are you, or how will you fund youth violence prevention or substance abuse intervention programs? Ms. Brown.
With your money. No. I don't know how I will fund them because, again, I have not sat there. I know about government funding. I know about, partnership funding. But I think that, again, I'm going to go back. I remember when we were growing up that there was a youth council and there was a youth court. And I can remember that teaching us some things about civics, about how law works. And I think getting back to that and helping our children and our residents understand what civics is and why it matters. Because you're asking people to do something that they don't even understand. To come and sit in a council meeting and not get a question asked when you have one does not make you want to come back or understand the process, right? A lot of people that I talk to don't understand. They always say what we paying taxes for, which is a good question because we don't have anything. But understanding why we pay taxes is important. To know that if we don't pay taxes in our community, we don't get a pool, we don't have a recreation center, we don't have good roads. We must. God says, "A man that don't work don't eat." So we must work for all the things that we want with the support of other people. However, we have a special place where we can create our laws, we can create our schools, we can create these things that fit for us. And if we do that, then we win, we build. And I think that, to me, if we get back to some of the old ways, it'll iron out some of these new problems.
Thank you. Ms. Calhoun, please.
I agree with Ms. Brown. I think that we really do need to engage in our youth in providing more education for them about civic engagement, what it means to be a citizen in a community and what the responsibilities are. And we also need to find funding so that we can provide employment, so that we can engage the students in their concerns about the community. And we just don't have that forum right now. I think we've worked with it with St. Monica's Recreation Center. They've done some programs where they talked about governance and good governance. And so that's what I would like to see in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Thank you. It's unfortunate that, our public government says that there's no form or process for that, when once again, over the past 5 years, we've had at least 22 youths that have worked throughout the summertime creating programs and projects here in the community. Like all the upgrades and any type of major program that you've seen done in this community has been these youths doing it. So when you talk about major public safety and accountability to find, once again, how you're going to fund that youth violence prevention, Hamilton County Youth Employment is already doing it, expanding that program, working with our Hamilton County to make sure that these young kids are hired and they have the money to do that. Once again, and she also, and Ms. Aretha just mentioned it, our youth court. We were going to work with Sheriff DePoley. We were already working with our Hamilton County judges, but there was other council members that came to our community roundtable where we had other partners from United Way to Procter & Gamble that were ready to make this thing happen, but we had other council members that pushed it away and said this is not something that we want to do at the current moment in time. So let's finalize the things that we already have. We already have these things set in place. Let's invest them and push them forward. Once again, the biggest question is how are we going to fund youth violence prevention? It starts right now. Do you know our kids are right now practicing at Lincoln Heights Field right now, the Lincoln Heights Tigers? What investment have we put in them? When are we going to show them what this community can be? When are we going to allow our sheriffs to go down there and interact with them? There's plenty of opportunities that we can create a pathway for our young kids right now to stop doing spray painting on the signs that say to kill a Nazi and have them feel invested that our community is empowering them, that they don't have to go out and act out of mischief. That is what we do. We reinvest our tax dollars. We cut we cut waste that we don't need, and I'm sure we're going to get into that, and reinvest it back into them. Youth employment programs, our youth court, and then making sure we have those partners to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Hingston.
So we have to start by strengthening the relationships between the community, the council, and the sheriff department, which we have right now. A lot of our youth are intimidated by police. So what we had to do is break that barrier. Princeton has a program where kids do military. We had to go back to that ride sharing. We had to really look at our budget because we pay a lot for the sheriff and put our money wisely so we can invest it back into our youth for them to want to get to learn about being a police, have to learn about a sheriff. Once we put time into our kids to teach them, educate them, then we would develop different things for them. There's a lot of things out there, but we have to do the leg work. As I said once before, we can't be a council that only works on the second and the fourth Monday. We have to be council members that are willing to go and do the leg work for ourselves to bring back into our community in order to help our youth. And that brings down the violence when they know that the people in the resident, the elders, the older people really care about them. We have to start with us in order to change them.
Thank you. Ms. Key.
Thank you. Can you give me the second half of that? I heard the youth violence, but you said something else.
Yes, ma'am. I will go ahead and repeat the question. How will you fund youth violence prevention or substance abuse intervention programs?
Substance abuse. Thank you. So if I could just take a step back, when I get questions like this, being from the village of Lincoln Heights, it kind of irritates me just a little bit, if I could, respectfully, because the insinuation is that we have violent youth in our community. We have a population, probably 1/3 of our population is young people in our community, and they're not violent. Do we have some violent crimes? Yes, but it is not all attributed to our youth in our community. And so I have to stand up and say that because I raised my son here, African-American male here, and my daughter here. They are not violent individuals. You have the St. Monica Center, which we're here right now, that supports a large portion of our youth. They're not violent individuals. And so I would like to change that narrative. Is there opportunity to help, to inform, to educate, to make sure that they're skilled so that they can go off and to go into the workforce, go into the military if they like, go into more education if they like? Yes. Most of the crime that happens here, from my understanding, from reports that I have seen, are from individuals who do not live in Lincoln Heights but come to Lincoln Heights to perpetrate. So I want to just change that narrative. I know I don't have enough time to fully answer the question on how we would fund it, but I just don't like that narrative for our community.
Thank you, Ms. Key. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly with Councilwoman Key. We have been told that our youth are violent, that there is trauma with our youth. I want to say that Lincoln Heights does not have a high crime rate. ours is pretty low, but others would not have you believe that. I currently work with an organization called ACTS, and we do a youth leadership camp for the past 4 years right here at St. Monica's. That includes individuals from the Episcopal ministry churches in the Valley area. And it's very hard to fund it. We would have to take funds through from our general operating levy in order to do that. Surely grants will suffice, but then you have to keep looking for grants. And I think that is something that we must do. If we want to support our youth, there are some funds out there that we have to go after, and it takes all of council and administration, not just council, to get these opportunities. So I think that looking at where we get those funds are going to be very critical.
Mr. Tate?
Again, being new to the being new here and not have been on the council, I can't say how I can fund it, but I can say if I do get into the office, I will look into any kind of funds to help the kids in the community.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask the next question. And again, it relates to business development and economic growth. And I'm going to frame the question in such a manner that either you are an incumbent or you're not, that you should be able to think about it and respond from your perspective, understanding that you have not had a chance yet to exercise all of the skill levels that you have until you're elected, okay? So what specific policies or infrastructure upgrades would you prioritize to bring in businesses, to support the businesses that are here and to bring in new businesses? Ms. Brown.
I would first prioritize the businesses that are already here, supporting them in every way that they need to be able to be fruitful for us. And doing that, I'm not really sure how that looks, but I think that we can invest in Tip Top. We can invest in the pizza place over around the corner if it's just beautifying or, you know, helping them get a menu board or whatever it is. Investing in Miss Mary's thrift store down there, because one man's trash is another man's treasure. I think that would be the first priority for me. And then the next thing would be bringing small business, black-owned businesses back into our community, supporting our barbers and our hairstylists and even our artists. We have a lot of artists. We have artists to sing. We have artists to draw. We have a lot of talent in Lincoln Heights, and just building on that, and that would bring not only jobs but revenue, and then a good vision of Lincoln Heights. Because again, somebody down at the end of the table, I just told a man this morning in a meeting that I was in, a lot of the things that happen in Lincoln Heights are not from Lincoln Heightsians, right? A lot of people come here and do their business and leave, but the report goes for our statistics. So just showing people who we really are would be my next main concern. You know, shining our light, showing that we are smart, we're educated, we are talented, and we need to be heard and seen in a different way than a lot of people see us, and only we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been on council for a little bit over a year, and one of the things that we've done is to visit various businesses and to speak with the business owners to see what can be done as far as finding training for our residents, seeing what opportunities are out there. One of the suggestions was to have a forum or a conference with all the business people in the community in Lincoln Heights, and set some time to see what their priorities are, what they need as far as investment from the municipality, what their concerns are as far as roads and access to Lincoln Heights. A lot of the commercial companies have come because we are so close to the expressway. We do have that advantage. And so that's what I plan to do in the next 2 years, is to get a forum for our businesses to talk to each other and improve what their needs are.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Councilman. Mr. Daniels.
You mind repeating the question, because I think I heard it a little bit differently. I just want to make sure I'm hearing it
Okay.
correctly.
What specific policies around infrastructure upgrades would you prioritize to support our existing businesses and to attract new businesses?
Well, the first policy I would do is that we would stop investing, stop investing in, removing elected officials and really invest once again in our people. Because once again, if you look at our budget, we spent $378,000 from year to date from our mayor and administrative office, where a lot of our legal fees go. So when we talk about where we can invest some of those dollars back into, so our Wi-Fi. So when you talk about overall public Wi-Fi and why those things are important, not just from our kids' education standpoint where they now feel connected, but from our business standpoint as well too. There's no reason why Lincoln Heights should not be the gem of smart cities. We have so many innovative individuals here and so many of our young people that are already digitizing codings right now. There's no reason why we're not investing in them to allow us to build our smart cities and our infrastructure. So when you talk about our businesses, creating a Lincoln Heights Business Chamber of Commerce, where once again, they can all talk with one another on our broadband, on our websites. Because when you think about it, once again, what does that look like from a Wi-Fi perspective? It's not just when you go to the airport and then you have a screen that you can now sponsor to somebody that says connect, but it really shows that we're moving forward and investing in our people to make sure that everybody is connected at all points in time. We need to be innovative in our light manufacturing. So what does that mean as well too? All the individuals that want to create t-shirts, all the individuals that have a gadget, all the individuals that have a different type of gadget they want to make. You can make those things in Lincoln Heights and create those businesses here. And lastly, our new tech jobs. Man, if you see the way that these kids code, if you see the way these kids create video games, if you see the way that these kids visualize our world in a digital space, we need to invest into it, and we need to do it now.
Thank you. Ms. Hingston.
So we have to start out by supporting the businesses that are already in the village and the new business that are coming to the village. We have a Lincoln Heights Historical Society that's up and running. We really need to support that and get involved so that she can find a location to bring it in the village. We have Mr. Wiley, who has a up-and-coming business that's in the village of Lincoln Heights. We had to support the residents that's in here already and then go out. Once people see that we are building up and rebuilding our neighborhood, people will come in to develop businesses, but we have to be mindful who we let in order to make the business grow in the village of Lincoln Heights. Like Mr. Daniel said, start with our youth that already know how to make t-shirts. Invest something into them and help them get a business started, and we'll grow from that.
Thank you, Ms. Hingston. Ms. Key.
Business development and economic growth is going to be critical to our future, and in that we are looking up and down I-75 at all of the industry that is happening down I-75, be it aviation or technology with the Intel project and the Brent Spence Bridge project. So we have a unique opportunity in that now in our land use study, we have identified spaces for light manufacturing. And so now we can recruit those businesses who want to build small businesses to support larger businesses. This gives our residents the opportunity to be employed in their community so that they can live, work, fellowship, be safe, be healthy, all in their community. And there is a lot of eyes on the village of Lincoln Heights because it is prime real estate. And so we do have to be very careful, like Ms. Hingston said, be very careful about the type of business structure that comes into our community. Is it what we want in our community? Does it bring value to our community? Does it help with the aesthetics of our community? So we just don't want to allow anything to come in. So we do want to be cognizant of who and what type of business and industry comes in and how it would impact the tapestry of the Village of Lincoln Heights. Job creation is key. And so we do have to make sure that we have policies in place that will allow businesses to grow, help them navigate the world of getting more resources for them as well so that they can grow their business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Key. Ms. Mitchell.
Well, first we have to take stock of our zoning and the land that is available. As everyone knows, we are landlocked, and we don't have that much property available for large businesses, maybe light industrial, as you go back on Shepherd Drive. I think one of the things that we have done is our CRA, our Community Reinvestment Area, is not just for housing, it is also for businesses. And we have had several businesses come to the village and talk about or take interest in the CRA. Now, it's not just up to council. This is a planning commission responsibility, and that's usually where it starts. Once the planning commission is understanding our policies that we already have, especially the zoning, there may be some changes there that we need to make in terms of our commercial areas, which will allow different types of businesses. We have to be careful, as Ms. Key has said, in terms of what we have coming into the community, because number one, we want to make sure it's revenue generating, that it's not something that we have interest in nonprofits coming, taking up a building. That's not going to get us the type of revenue that we need to take some of the tax burden off of the residents.
I think we should consider hiring someone that's familiar with economic development. That way we could bring them in and they could tell us what type of business that will be beneficial for Lincoln Heights. We also should create a economic development committee with citizens so they can give input on what type of business that they would like in the area.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tate. And before we go to the final question, before we go to the audience for questions and we give the answers, we've had an empty chair that's been vacant for some time since the meeting started, and the chair has now been filled with Trina Carter. So we're almost toward the end, but I'd just like to ask you if you would introduce yourself and also why you're running for council. And if you've never run before, why would we want to vote for you? Ms. Carter. Here we go.
Okay, everyone can hear me. Hello, I am Trina Carter, and I want to thank everybody. I would like to thank you all for hosting this. I was at the Princeton Homecoming Parade representing Lincoln Heights Elementary, where I work, but also I am alumna. So, I don't actually have any experience in politics. I am a community person. I have been community oriented for my whole life. I was just raised that way. I want to run for council because that is something that that is a way that I have not had the opportunity to serve. And there are so many things that I see, and I have all these ideas, and I said I'm not going to be at home talking about my ideas and thinking about my ideas. I would like to work with everyone on council to make sure that we can make Lincoln Heights the great, amazing place that it should be, that I remember as I grew up here. So I saw the 30 seconds, so I will end there.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Jeremy.
All right, our next question is going to be regarding housing and affordability. Redevelopment could raise property taxes and values. How have you protected existing lower-income homeowners from tax increases or loss of affordability amid new development? And for our non-incumbents, how will you?
I'm not really sure how I will. I will work with everyone and make it to be the best way for Lincoln Heights. However, understanding the climate that we are in and the way that we can go, I think that we're better served talking about Lincoln Heights building a contingency plan to be able to survive in housing and in the food desert that we are in. With the climate, with the regime, I'm just going to say it, that we're under, I think that we are all talking in a good way, but I think that we need to be unifying and building a contingency plan for at least the next 2 years that looks maybe different than what we will be doing in a normal state. That's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. Ms. Calhoun.
Can you repeat your question?
Yes, ma'am. Redevelopment could raise property values and taxes. How have you or how will you protect existing lower-income homeowners from tax increases or loss of affordability amid new development?
Well, I think one of the things that we've worked with the auditors is making sure that our community looks at the property tax legislation and how the property taxes are decided upon and where those taxes go. We have been to several forums with the auditors of Hamilton County, seeing how the homestead provision can be expanded to more of the community people who could be use that benefit to lower their taxes. And I hope to continue doing that in the next 2 years, working with the community, working with people who are property owners like myself.
Thank you. Ms. Carter.
Well, I can say as a property owner, I have definitely thought about affordability, and even before that, long before that, I was wondering how do we want the value to be raised. We want to, we want that, but we need to bring people in. Also, I'm just saying that we need to grow our population so that we have more people who have the money to help to pay for some of the things that we want done. I need to have it to be affordable for me and for the people who already live here, of course, but when we want to look at buying property and things like that, we want to make sure that we have someone coming in besides businesses. We want to have community members who care, who actually hold stake, and who want to make sure that we are growing. Everyone gets to grow economically, as well as my big thing is we'll call it the self-esteem of the neighborhood. So I am I honestly can't tell you this is what I will do. I am a great learner, I love to learn, so I look forward to figuring that out, but my plan is to try to figure out how to get more people involved with money so that we don't have to keep raising taxes on those of us who are already shouldering the responsibilities. So.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels.
Just real quick, repeat it one more time, just make sure I'm hearing it correctly.
Yes, sir. Redevelopment could raise property values and taxes. How have you or how will you protect existing lower income homeowners from tax increases or loss of affordability amid new development?
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to let the residents know, if you have not got a sample ballot, there are sample ballots out there, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 proposed levies on there. So make sure you do your research on that. If we have a question about that, we go more into it. But as you talked about protecting our residents, the best protection that I found value-wise, and once again, this is what I would do in this situation, is a community land trust. Now, what is a community land trust? Let's imagine this whole sheet that we're on is all of Lincoln Heights. Lincoln Heights will always own this sheet. Lincoln Heights will always protect this sheet. But you as the individual can build your own home on this sheet and gain equity in this sheet. And with this sheet, as we said before, or trust, everybody has a say in what that pricing is, right? Everybody has an opportunity to control pricing values. So it's based upon the trust, not the actual value in the market, but now you're talking about a protection among the residents who get to determine the value of the biggest property that we have, the biggest asset that we have is our property. And that's what the residents can be involved with if you're talking about building a community land trust. So getting everybody involved is the biggest protection value that we have on that aspect of it. And then when you talk about building your overall asset and gaining your value on that. Let's say, for instance, you build a $100,000 home. Everything you put into that, you are now keeping and now goes into you. You can still sell that home, but once again, the value in that land stays protected by the Village of Lincoln Heights.
Thank you. Ms. Hingston.
So when we talk about the tax increase, so what happens is that when they raise the taxes as they did this last time, we need to be like a village, like some other township went down there, had them come back out and revalue, reassess the property in the Village of Lincoln Heights, and that would stop them from going up. We also, when you talk about new building, we need to, when we ask for new houses to be built in here, we get them a 10-year tax abatement. So what that does, the residents that's already here, because we have new houses and people are coming in, some of them are not paying taxes. So our taxes go up. Maybe we could make that a 5-year abatement, because we do want new homes to come into the Village of Lincoln Heights. So the more we get new homes in here, the more the residents' taxes will not go up. The more homes we have, the less we have to pay. Our taxes are high now because we have lost and tore down a lot of houses that were built in the Village of Lincoln Heights. So we had to make things back to where they were, or better than where they were, to invite residents in to want to build and live here.
Thank you. Ms. Key.
Thank you. There's some things that's been said, some things I agree, some things I don't agree, but I won't go into the things that I don't agree with. But one of the areas that I think we could have done a better job was that tax abatement with the CRA program. And I know we were walking a tightrope. We were walking a tightrope because we had projections that showed that we were not going to generate enough income for revenue through our current levies for police, fire, and operating. So I know we were walking a tightrope, but I also knew that we had a lot of interest in land that we had in the village. And so people were wanting to purchase land to build homes. I just wish we would have waited or backed down, or as was recently said, drop that tax abatement down just a little bit, because I believe you talked about our lower income residents who are living in homes. They are truly carrying the tax burden of all the things that we are doing and we're talking about. And looking for a creative way to allow them to stay in their home, dignifiedly stay in their home, and be able to transfer their wealth was something that I really wish we would have engaged a little bit more with, versus putting levies on, not really understanding the inside mill, the outside mill, renewal versus whatever that was put up before us. The numbers weren't adding up. And so I always say, trust but verify. Let's do our research. Let's know what our tax implications are.
Thank you. That's all right. Ms. Mitchell.
I sort of would like to rephrase your question a little bit. You talked about redevelopment raised taxes, but lack of development also raised taxes. So if we don't have a business area, if we are not able to build a business here, we know that businesses takes care of your tax base for the most part. And so being a bedroom community with not a high tax base from businesses, it puts us certainly in a sad situation. But we also have to understand that taxes are also due to the economy outside of Lincoln Heights. all the taxes that are being paid do not come to the village of Lincoln Heights. And I think that that is something that residents need, those of you who are paying property taxes. Now, we're not talking about an income tax. So I think that's important to know that not all the money comes to the village of Lincoln Heights. So I think that we also need to begin to find a way to protect us from tax increases, but that is somewhat impossible. If our income tax revenue is not high, we don't have any other choice. Everything is going up, everybody else is paying high taxes. We have to pay our vendors. We don't have a choice. We do have to pass these tax levies.
Thank you. Commissioner Tate.
Try to attract new business to the area so they can take up some of that slack off the villages that's in the area.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one final question, and then we're going to go with the questions that have been presented to us, and we will read the question ourselves. And the final question is, as an elected official, as well as going to be possibly an elected official, there are certain guidelines around being responsive to your community, being accessible to your community, to be accessible to your meetings that you're expected to attend, and that's a major thing as far as attendance. Is there what policy could be implemented or for a person who does not follow those accountability characteristics, and how do you feel that individual should be handled? Start with you, Ms. Brown.
I think I've been very reserved here, so I'm just gonna let this one rip. I think that when you don't have a hostile workplace, you don't typically have people that don't show up for work. When you have people that volunteer for a position, you typically don't have people that don't show up for the volunteer position unless there's something wrong. So I don't know what should be set in place other than everybody to be respected and heard in the seats that they set, so that they wouldn't have a reason to walk away. They wouldn't have a reason not to continue in this journey that they chose, right? I don't think that people walk away and be half, excuse my French, ass if everything is okay. So I think that if we are a family and we continue to unify in the real world of unification, be transparent in the real world of transparency, and be truthful in all things, I don't think that those positions will be dropped. I don't think that those positions will not be carried out in the way that people say, I'm here. And I hope that I will never get to the day that I would rather stay at home and then serve my community.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Calhoun-Moon.
When I was sworn in on February the 12th, 2024, I committed to the community, to Lincoln Heights, and to being a council member. And I didn't know exactly what all that entailed. And I expected the council members that were on council at that time, because they had been there for a while, so they understood what the responsibilities are. So I had to spend time on YouTube looking at Robert's rules, understanding how different committees work, and I was committed to be there and to work on each committee, and to whatever assignment that the mayor gave me, I took that assignment and learned how to do the work that was necessary by talking to people who were already experienced in other communities, in our community, and I think I've done a great job. I give myself a B+.
Thank you. Ms. Carter.
Excuse me, this has been on my mind. And my understanding of the charter is that people who are elected are expected to show up and do certain duties. And then, of course, just morally speaking, if you're trusting me to be there, I should be there. I think one issue is, and not just in this area, but there are things in our charter that are not specific enough. And I believe that needs to be addressed, because saying that a council member is expected to come to meetings, okay, yeah, but how many do you get to miss for whatever reason, excused or unexcused? That's not explicitly in our charter. There, as I said, some other things. I think we need to tighten those things up, because then when you have that, then feelings don't have to be a part of it. As a teacher, I know this is the action, this is the consequence. I don't get upset. As an adult, if I do something and Ms. Bailey says, this is the rule, and Ms. Carter doesn't follow the rule, I know what's coming, and all I can say is, okay, that was my decision for whatever reason. So I think if we can go ahead and get those things tightened up, then that would help. There are some other things I believe the council should do some, I don't know if they do, but I believe that some retreats are very important as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Carter.
So before, I want to address, please, I just want to address it to the audience. We get 3 unexcused just for our charters, and that was brought up. You get 3 unexcused. I just want to make sure that's clear. Yep. So, to your question, I think you were talking about just being and serving in your community. You definitely, and I think both Ms. Aretha Brown says it all the time, and I've definitely heard Ms. Karen say it as well too. Council is not just a Monday, first Monday, third Monday, whatever job. We're sworn to uphold the charter. And a part of the charter, and there's certain specifications of the charter, if they're broken, they have to pull certain levers to make sure that those things are abided by. So there's certain things you can do as well too. So a part of our charter, as we talk about committees, is something that, once again, our council chooses, and that's one of the best things that we get to kind of do collectively, that we get asked and get to pick. When those things are manipulated, you have to have some pushback. We are a representation of the community. You have to push back in certain type of ways. When our charter is truly being torn down for petty games, for individuals to sit there and push their own agenda, you gotta push back a certain type of manner. I am so proud of the individuals in this community that sat there and said, I'm not gonna go through the status quo because you were doing illegal actions, and illegal actions that were said by the appellate court of Southern Ohio, the second highest court in the land, said that our council was fraudulent and illegal. So people walked away from that, because that's not what we wanna be a part of. If we're true representations of the people, how will we be a part of a fraudulent process? If we're true representations of the people, why is showing up to a council meeting the most important thing? If we're representations of the people, why not going out to the people and having meetings with the people the most important thing? Now, to Ms. Carter's point, something else that we need to do is work together and go out on retreats and get information about what we can do. Because when we talked about a smart city, going back to DC and talking to folks at Sea Pleasant, they'll talk about how we can get certain things done as a collective in the new moment in time.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Hingston.
Yes. So, the problem is that lack of communication. Everybody wants to be right in the council. Nobody knows, from the time that I sat down there, it's okay to disagree, and move on. So there's a conflict when there's a problem when things don't go certain people's ways. You have to be able to be an adult in every situation. In the charter, when I was down there for the 7 months, because I said I was going to be there, I said I was going to work on the committee, I did that, just that. It doesn't matter who disagreed with me. I had a conversation on the side. We had to learn how to speak with people, with respect, and respect each other where we at. The charter needs to be updated, but there are also rules of council. And when you come on, there needs to be a conversation when you first get on about the rules of council and a breakdown about the very thing that's important to the charter the rules and the regulations. But when you got on, you're just on, and you learn on your own.
Thank you, Ms. Hingston. Ms. Key.
Thank you. There's a lot to be said about that question. But I will say this. When the representatives from the state of Texas left Texas to not attend meetings, we fist bumped them. However, when someone who is sitting on our council does not attend meetings that they've deemed they felt were illegal and were waiting for a legal response to those meetings, they're vilified. We have a level of hypocrisy in our community. And I'm not pointing at anyone because I've heard this several times. And I've also been able to have conversations, greater level conversations, to understand why people have said what they said. I'll stand on my decision. I'll stand on the decision that I made to walk out of council when I felt that we were not operating properly and legally. I have had this stance since I've been on council. When I've been asked to attend a meeting that had not been given proper notice to the community, I said no. So it has never changed, it has never wavered. There is a responsibility to the people. I also communicated to the people through the clerk as to why I was not attending those meetings. As soon as the appellate court came back with a ruling, I then began attending those meetings. We do have to look at our charter and our rules of council.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell? Ms. Mitchell? Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. The charter needs to be reviewed. We do have a charter review committee, but we don't have anybody on it. So when people complain about why isn't this being done, we cannot get anyone. The mayor has oftentimes, especially at the beginning of the year, said we need individuals. The charter was done for government by the people so that residents can weigh in. Planning Commission, Boards of Appeals, Education Commission, Recreation Commission. We only have 2 commissions that residents are advisors to the council that are appointed. Planning Commission and Recreation Commission. If residents want to say something, that is where you come and help weigh in on the decisions. We do have, council members do have to be accountable. We have meetings that we have to go to every Monday. Every Monday we're down there for the committee meetings and the council meetings. We cannot do it by ourselves, and if the residents, if you're complaining, come down there and be involved. That is what the charter is all about, so that we don't have to follow a statutory form of government. All right? You have to come and be involved. Meetings are important.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
I currently serve on the Planning Commission and Recreation Commission. I'm the co-chair of the Planning. I'm the chair of the Recreation Committee. We have members, sometimes life happens and they don't show up. It doesn't state how many meetings they have to miss, but if it does, if they miss a certain number of meetings, your question was, what should happen to them? Your question was, what should happen to them if they miss?
Yes.
It depends on what the charter says. If it says that they miss a certain number of meetings, they should be taken off that committee.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Now we're to the point where there's, I think, just a point of clarification. Any question that came that actually was not broad enough to include everybody, we will not respond to those, because I think we've done responses to most of those questions already. So what we're going to do as we round out the next 15 minutes, no more, there are questions that were submitted to us that we will submit to you all and give you 1 minute to respond, okay? And then we will be able to close out the evening with one final note that I would like to share with everyone. So if you'll just bear with us, and thank you so far for everyone. And I just want to thank and commend our timekeeper, because she's doing a yeoman's job. Thank you. So now, so 1 minute, each one will have, so we're going to divvy up the questions.
All right, there were several questions regarding the Wi-Fi and the broadband infrastructure. What progress has been made towards the broadband expansion, and when will we have full coverage? When will full coverage be achieved?
1 minute, Ms. Brown.
Oh, I want the answer to this question too.
All right, for our non-incumbents, how will you ensure that the broadband project is completed?
Well, I will go back and check the finances, make sure the money is still there, and reach out to the people. I don't really understand why it's not here yet. It's been years. So I really want to hear the answer to the questions with the people that have already been here for the question from the people that have already been here, but I don't think it takes that long. I call Spectrum and they there within 3 days.
Thank you, Ms. Calhoun.
My understanding is that council, this is before I became on council, that $150,000 was in the budget for phase 1 of the Wi-Fi program. And that phase 1 has been completed, and there is Wi-Fi in Lincoln Heights. It's in the Centennials area, there's Wi-Fi. And so I think that phase 1.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay. And that phase 1 has been completed, and we're working on phase 2 and 3.
Ms. Carter, 1
Thank
minute.
you, Ms. Carter.
I'm noticing a trend, I would hate to say that, but that is what it is, where we have projects that do not come to completion. So I think that it's very important to be goal-oriented and to look at the steps that it would take from the beginning, because I keep hearing about phase 1, and that also goes to our communications. I had no idea where it was, and I've asked other people and they didn't either. So I think both of those things need to be addressed. 1, we need to have steps to attaining our goals, and we need to make sure everybody knows what's going on, and it's not just certain people are privy to the information. So we need several ways of communicating with everyone in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Mr. Daniels.
So when we talk about the Wi-Fi grant, and this is something that talked about, vitally important, let's talk about our council structure and leadership. So since we had this, we had a village manager named Mr. Anthony Dukes, who was removed by individuals of council. Then we had Ms. Joyce Powdrill, who also was getting pushback from individuals of council to move this project forward, even though she did a fantastic job of getting it moved, of getting the ball rolling forward, connecting us with PowerNet, establishing some of what those phase plans are. But then once again, you move on to Ms. Donna Pope. Then we have another village manager, and then from there we went to a Mr. Harry Holbert. Then we had another village manager after that. Now we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 village manager in the span of when we had this project done. So it's if you talk about the stability of our council, the stability of our leadership, you have individuals that have been here for almost as long as I've been alive, and the culture of chaos in our council is what also pushes back on why projects like that cannot get done. And it's not just that project. You have our Hamilton County concession stand grant. But I will say this, I have a lot of faith in our current village manager to get these things done and push forward.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Hingston.
So I really don't have the answer either. But when I came on, I was told we were in phase 1, the 150,000. I was told that we didn't have enough money to do phase 2. As he stated, there's been a lot of different managers in place, But however, I do know that our new village manager has set up a meeting with the overseer of the Wi-Fi, and also he's speaking on the concession stand. So hopefully we can move forward. We've been told that it was in certain spots. Either we're going to have Wi-Fi or we're not going to have Wi-Fi. We have to have it. We have to be honest with the residents.
Thank you. The Wi-Fi project, the community Wi-Fi project was a multi-million-dollar project. As have been said, I haven't heard anything that I did not agree with. However, there was always the knowledge that we would have to go out and secure millions of dollars to bring this to our community. And there were opportunities at the state level to bring money, at the federal level to bring money. However, as have been said, when our leadership changes, those projects kind of stop. And even our current village manager now, he has to come up to speed with what needs to be done or what could be done and how it could be done. So we have to continue to make sure that we have stability in leadership so that we can implement these projects that are great, magnificent projects, but we can't move them forward without leadership in that village manager seat.
Thank you, Ms. Key. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. So the Wi-Fi is in the northeast section of the city, of the village. And that is what those funds went for. Going into this project, we knew that the village was not going to have the funds to fund it. So sometimes when you get a grant or an opportunity, that opportunity may not be for us if we cannot fulfill the whole thing. So even if we were going into phase 2, we would have to write a grant, go for the funds. And when we look at what our manager has to do, there are things that one manager cannot do. So whether we had a shift in leadership, let's stop and think. First of all, Wi-Fi may be free for the residents, but it's not free for the village to provide.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Tate.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Yes, sir. Question is regarding the Wi-Fi and the broadband technology infrastructure. What progress has been made towards the broadband expansion, and when will the full coverage be achieved? And for our non-incumbents, the question is regarding how will you ensure that the project will be completed?
If elected, work with council and make sure that the public is informed of what's going on. I said as an incumbent.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank everyone for the response and the turnout. And this is an opportunity for those in the audience to get to know who your council members are, as well as who the individuals are that are running for election. And one of the things as we look at what we can do to improve the integrity of our community is that we elect individuals who care about our community, have demonstrated that sense of accountability to the people that we're here to serve. And so some of the questions that have been given to us on the postcard have already been answered in some form or fashion. But I'm going to challenge the council members with these following questions that were given to us that I think should be the topic of discussion in your next council meeting, based on our time frame as well, because we've addressed most of these. First question, and this is for the incumbents, so I want you all to take notes, and in your next council meeting, I would expect to see that this is addressed. Is that fair enough? Because the individuals who have written these cards are going to be looking and wanting that response. So I think it's a topic that should be on your agenda for your next council meeting. So those who wrote these cards, do you hear what they've said? Yeah. So you're going to be there present or watching, correct? Yeah, correct. Is that fair enough for me to address these last few that way, people? Okay. First question, how can we keep alcohol out of Lincoln Heights? Topic for your next meeting, okay? Next question, and this one is near and dear to my heart because all of us at some point in our lives if not already, are on fixed incomes. So trying to keep our property updated and get rid of nuisances, I may need help. So this is the question. Trees in my yard and on neighborhoods have grown tremendously. I'm on a fixed income for many years. I'm thinking about my mama and daddy on this one too. Also on minimum funds. Does the city know of a program to help me with this program? Okay, that's the way. Excuse me, I've thrown this out to the members. Just let me finish, because for the sake of time, okay? Because I promised and I got support from the community. But I promised them, and I think it's something that maybe not just them but other folks need to know in our community. And the next question is, why do we need people with money to come in our community if we have money ourselves? And on the last decade, nothing new has happened in our community. Why? So do some research, what's been happening in the community. So if they're talking about, we don't have $200,000 homes on our own. So what does this mean? So I guess they're talking about the tax levy that's coming up, okay? And then this one is really for the incumbents, okay? I would like to address the eyesore on the bridge on Aviation Way. Who do we contact to remove it? I was told someone had an accident there, but I'm sure if this was one of the neighboring communities, it would have already been cleaned up. So again, I'm throwing this out to you all. I've got participation from the audience that they expect to see this on the agenda and have that question answered. Thank you very much. Now, the final thing, and I just want to thank everyone, and I have to leave everyone with this note. I happen to have been, and still is, a fan of this woman right here, Nikki Giovanni. In order for us to make changes, we have to vote. And if you don't vote, nothing changes, all right? So Nikki wrote a story, and she's an international and national scholar and icon. She wrote this poem called Vote, and we're going to close out the meeting with my reading some of that poem. And it starts with saying you are a citizen. I am a citizen. I should be able to vote from prison. I should be able to vote from the battlefield. I should be able to vote when I get a driver's license. I should be able to vote when I can purchase a gun. I must be able to vote if I'm in the hospital, or if I'm in the old folks' home, if I'm needing a ride to the polling place. I am a citizen. I must be able to vote. Folks were lynched. Folks were shot. Folks' communities were and still are being gerrymandered. I had to add that in there. Folks who believe in the Constitution were lied to and burned out, bought and sold because they agreed that all men, and I got to add this, and women are created equal. Folks, she says, vote to make us free. And with that, we are closing out our meeting for tonight, and I want to thank everyone.